So yeah, so if we have to go to the well right away, I'm fine with doing the 5 interaction because it's not just a bunch of douchebag. There's actually one voice of reason on there,
Sure,
and he's like comes across as as a voice of reason.
yeah,
Let's
I'm
see,
down.
what's the
I'm
time
down to
index?
down to check it out for sure.
12. And then I love making fun of Jesse Waters.
Who doesn't?
All right. All right. Wait, hold on. Fuck. Can't do it without that. What happened to my... Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay. Do a little promotion. All right. Let everybody know that I am live, so I have time to do that. Give people enough time to get in here. Do 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 do.
Nigga gonna text me talking about you'll never find. You swear? Put that on your life.
All right. Come on in. All right. I was just waiting for Dieter real quick. I probably started too soon, but it's just to do a little bit of promotion.
Okay. We are in business.
Hell yeah.
I've got to get rid of this fucking drawer. Okay. All right, ready?
Yep, yep, yep.
All right. Let me get some water. Get rid of business really quick.
Do do do. If you are joining, let me know. Did you watch the debate? Don't be shy. Live now. Excuse me. All right. All right.
All right, check 1, 2.
Sound
Say
good?
one last time. All right, cool. All right, ready?
Yep, yep.
All right, in 5. Wait, hold on.
Is that a geek bar?
Yeah. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Left Coast Live. I'm your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by Stat Pat, stateless patriot of the Central Valley, California. We are left coasters talking to you about the debate yesterday, the right-wing media's consistent and predictable reactions to Trump's
Oh yeah.
failure, as well as Taylor Swift's endorsement and some other random news. But why don't I throw it to you right now, stateless patriot, open up with some having slept on it thoughts from yesterday's debates.
Well, this morning I woke up in a better mood than I've you know woken up to in quite a while, honestly. Um, just reeling from an incredible performance in hindsight, and of course, being the political junkie that I am, and consumer of leftist independent media and whatnot, I went ahead and just looked at everybody else's reactions and whatnot, and
Yep.
it was just like a
Basically what I did.
a big reminder of just how well she did and just how bad Trump did. Just to put it bluntly, it's it, it's almost hard to believe, considering where we were. Like I've been because it's a major event, right? Millions and millions of people saw this, so of course everybody's going to go to Twitter, and countless Twitter reactions and great takes and great points being made and lots of hilarious memes, obviously. And so that's been occupying the majority of my day in between a relatively light work day. So like not only YouTube but Twitter as well, and there's just so much. I
You just been eating it up.
Yeah, no, and rewatching like highlights from the debate reminded me just how, yeah, just how fucking well she did. Like she crushed it. She hammered him like he was the nicest looking nail she's ever seen. Honestly.
Okay. So, I don't know if she got a straight A plus.
Mhm.
I think she got an A minus
Mhm.
because she can't get a straight A because
No,
she's flip flopped on too many issues.
Right. Exactly.
So she was always going to get exposed on the flip flops.
Yeah. Yeah.
That did not land for what it's worth as strongly as did the bait she laid out for Trump, which he hit every time.
Yeah.
He bit the bait literally every time.
Mhm.
She would say something about his crowd sizes or his businesses or, the
Oh no. Oh crap. And his internet might have just went out again. Well, until he's able to get back, I'll go ahead and take her from here. I hope you all watched the debate. If not, I'm almost certain it's available for rewatch on Dieter's internet went out. It is available for rewatch on my channel if you guys haven't seen it. Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. It was quite a spectacle. Just rewatching a lot of it last night reminded me from last night. Reminded me of how well she did. There's a lot. There are even some points that I missed because it was just consistent the entire night. She was like, she started off just like a little bit shaky, but it didn't take long for her to get into her groove, without a doubt. Dieter's hopping back on just a little bit. We're going to, excuse me, gonna wait for him, but yeah, it was truly one of the hold on, yes,
hey,
what's up?
hey, so we're still going. Were you still talking that whole time? I hope.
Yeah, no, I was, but I was saying like it's like because I've been watching debates. I told the audience the internet thing, but I've been watching debates since Romney Obama, and presidential debates at least, to be more specific. And I can't remember one that was this impactful in terms of just how I notable all the
one-sided it was. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
since
for real.
since June, I mean, with the exception of Trump, Biden. I mean, Biden couldn't tie
No,
his shoes
right.
in June, so
Of
you got to
course,
kind of
yeah.
say that's a one-of-a-kind example. Thank God that was in June.
Yeah.
Boy, we have some. History's gonna do some research and figure out who were the geniuses that wanted to make sure that debate happened in June.
Well, I mean, not only that, but like that's. I mean, it's a good thing that happened to begin with because we wouldn't be where we are today. Like, I I'm still reeling from the fact that we're even in this position, given where we were in like early July. Not only the horrible debate, but the Supreme Court decisions as well, and everything looked like it was going smoothly for Trump. And not to mention this assassination attempt, the optics from that. But having last night proved that Joe Biden dropping out of the race and Kamala Harris taking the reins and being the head of the Democratic ticket, it's by far the smartest thing that the Democrats have done in decades. Very few things I think come close to being as consequential as doing this, and last night proved it. Because so, in like hindsight as well, we're political junkies, and we're not necessarily fans of Kamala Harris to begin with, let alone listening to her talk. But from the outside looking in, you know, stepping outside I guess the political bubble that we're in, and just looking at it from the perspective of a normie or someone who's rather apolitical, there's no question about it. Like, she absolutely dominated the entire debate. David Dole actually kind of agrees with you, because you made a good point about it. You made this point in the debate as well. She didn't start off the best. Like, the first few minutes,
Right.
like, she was a little bit nervous and whatnot. But
Yeah.
it didn't take long for her to
Didn't
get
matter.
into her groove. Yeah, and honestly,
I don't dock her any points for the nervous start, because people are going to tune in for those first 30 to 45 minutes.
and
no
that's
matter
all it
what.
took. That's all it
Right.
took. Like, she won the debate within those first 20, 30 minutes. Like,
Yep.
I mean, people really didn't need to watch anymore, and
I
that's
liked
why.
how she went on the offensive with talking about what he's going to do and his little parlor tricks about talking about the border this and killing the baby after birth that, and all these sensational anecdotes which aren't
Based in
actually
reality.
emblematic of the truth and
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you a reaction here in a minute. I wonder maybe if I should find it. I don't. Do you want to see it now? I trolled this right-wing religious live stream, a summary of the Trump and Kamala debate. Let's do it really quick. It's
Sure.
not going to take long.
Let's do
but
that.
I hope I queued it up to the right spot. So I trolled. I said, well, let's see. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, let's just see what he says.
There's a couple, yeah.
You'll say what he
Comedian and said, school. He said, Republicanism is a nation with history. He was like, he's just can't tax me without orders inside of me. Wooden teeth. High school and decided to become a prick. Meat and working out, and we hope to see you again next week. We got the Friday special. Do we have another episode coming out, Nate?
Actually, let me cue it up because I don't want. Let's go to the. Sorry, dude. I'm sorry about that. We'll do this one instead, because this is my good friend Jesse Waters, because that's a horrible stream. That's horrible live content right there. So this is my favorite bro from another mother, Jesse Waters, who is a Trinity grad, which is not necessarily a penalty, but it doesn't hold the same water as, say, Williams or in Amherst or one of those kinds of schools. I will say one of the smartest guys I ever met. I met studying abroad in New Zealand, and he was from Trinity. Very successful lawyer now. So not saying about that. I don't think he did very well when he was at Trinity. That was actually the more important point. You know who else went to Trinity was Tucker Carlson.
So so you're saying you know Jesse Waters?
No, but I know his type.
Oh, right. No, of course.
Yeah.
My favorite line.
He's a
That's my
Nazi
favorite
guy.
line of the night.
That was one of
It
mine,
was the
too.
first laugh. It might have been the only laugh.
I like the other one. Abdul. I said, Abdul, if there's a problem.
We sent the pictures of his house to him.
Yeah. All right, so Trump wasn't perfect, but Kamala didn't take advantage of it. Trump was emotional. He was undisciplined, but he still
what
delivered
do you
powerful
mean?
messages on the core issues that
course
voters
she
care
took
about. Kamala Harris was
advantage of
very
it.
well prepared. She was very composed. But at the end of the debate, the voters had no idea what her policies are.
So this is the white bro perspective, obviously, from Jesse Waters. And it basically is just willful ignorance. It's so insulting to be a straight white man just turned 40. So this is millennials. This is, guys that are competitive, like to win. that's who they're talking to right now. And the sad part is that this crap actually works. So he's just like, oh, she didn't say anything. It's like, well, she actually did. You just decided not to listen.
Yeah.
So her whole strategy was to distract by mocking Donald Trump so she didn't have to talk about her record or her policies. She wasted a huge moment to be able to tell 67 million people what she stands for. All she did was say, don't vote for Trump instead of vote for me. The media loved it because they just like watching Trump get teased. But if you're an undecided voter, how did Kamala Harris explain what she's going to do to help you get a house or help you secure the border?
Well,
she didn't do it.
actually
Trump is a
talked
huge
about
She
that
literally
specific
did.
housing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why he said that word. He's such an idiot.
Oh,
He
my
walked right,
God.
like in the back of his mind, he knows that she said something specific to that topic.
Yeah.
And he can't help but be like, come up with that exact example where it would apply. So
Yeah.
it's like that whole concept of failing up in media. This guy is the best example of that.
Huge opportunity to define her. He said it a few times, but he could have been a lot more precise and beat that drum harder. He did tire to Biden. My favorite line was, what are you talking about? Go to D.C., wake Joe up at 4 in the afternoon, get him to close the border.
Yep.
That's all he needed to do. And the signature moments that you see on the internet after this, she didn't have any. She didn't have any. Trump had them all. And that's what's going to reverberate. She whiffed at the first question. And then just temperamentally, I
Yeah,
found her
but they
evasive,
weren't good for
found her
him.
unlikable.
Like, yeah, of course he had all the moments because he sounded like an unhinged lunatic. He came off as an insane person. He did
Yeah,
not.
it was more
he-
about him failing than her. To them, to a lot
Mm-hmm.
of centrist voters that matter, what it feels like is more that Trump failed and she did well enough. To them, she wouldn't get an A-. She would get like a B.
Right.
Preachy.
But Trump would get like a
And
B.
instinctually, I don't know how that's going to play with men because men are predominantly the undecided voters.
Listen to the entitlement. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Men are so we don't
What- yeah,
need
what
to
do you
talk
thi-
about reproductive rights then because men are predominantly the undecided voters. Give me a break. All right,
Right.
so this is the same show. This is the one voice of reason they have on here.
Performing now, like on cable.
Before-
You're trying to
yeah,
win
a
arguments, you're
little
trying to
bit
land shots concisely.
Yeah, a little bit more
So we're saying Harold's wrong, and I would agree
Again.
that Harold is wrong again.
Say are going Trump's way. 3 out of 10 of the undecideds are going her way. So if it was so great and if we whooped her, why are the numbers still in Trump's favor?
So we're saying Harold's wrong, and I would agree
Again.
that Harold is wrong again.
Yes.
Because we get paid to analyze this, and we see this as a performance. We see this as a performance like we're performing now, like on cable. You're trying to win arguments, you're trying to land shots concisely with a little
We just need to put the
completely
the
turning
video.
the cards over. It's a performance.
Yeah. It's just a little bit loud on my end. The video.
Oh, it's a
volume.
little bit loud.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, let me loop it back, and we'll get a clean cut on that one.
There we go.
Somebody will get good at this.
There we go.
saying Harold's wrong, and I would agree
Again.
that Harold is wrong again.
Yes.
Because we get paid to analyze
Harold's
this, and
the
we see this as a
only
performance.
sane person there.
We see this as a performance like we're performing now, like on cable. You're trying to win arguments, you're trying to land shots concisely with a little flair. Yes.
So you're
she
not
had
real news.
Trump on the defensive a lot of the time. Yes. Trump snapped a couple times. But
A
that's
lot of
not
times.
what the regular voter cares about. That's what MSNBC
Yes, it is.
cares
Temperament
about.
matters.
Yeah.
That's what Kamala's handlers might care about, because when he's snapping and freaking out about crowd size, she doesn't have to talk about taking away people's guns or banning fracking. Everybody knows at the end of this
Which
debate
she
what Donald
addressed
Trump
in
stands for.
the debate.
Even people who don't follow
It's
Yes.
like-
politics, they know he stands for cutting taxes, regulations, securing the border, and bringing
He says regulations, not deregulation.
peace.
I can't even
No
talk
one
English.
knows still, after a convention, a CNN interview, and this 90-minute debate with 67 million people watching, what she stands for. One restaurant owner, a friend of mine, says the customer always remembers dessert. They always remember the last thing you eat. And last night, he closed with his probably strongest argument. You've been there 3.5 years, making a lot of promises. Why haven't you done it already?
Okay, so he's not wrong that that was Trump's best moment. He's wrong to think that it was still a good moment. Everything's relative, and that just was the best moment among an entire night of incompetence.
Yeah.
It was utter incompetence. Like we're just different in terms of our feel for it. To me, Kamala did what she was supposed to do. She's a professionally trained rhetorician with the specific craft of prosecutorial rhetoric. So she should be able to handle someone as old, tired, and repetitive as Trump, and downright
Right.
dumb. He's not, So she stepped up and she became the Kamala that was kind of in her at all times, but she felt like she needed to hold back a little bit.
Right.
And after that first question or so, she relaxed and it flowed naturally. And she also did a great job of letting Trump hang himself. Now, she did that little like smirk or whatever thing, but it's like, come on, who cares, right?
Yeah.
Like, of course she's going to enjoy this moment.
Of
who
of
wouldn't?
course, you're like if you're reacting on the spot to your opponent, it's like it's gonna be like whatever the natural reaction is. But to his point, I mean, it is one of the only like half decent points that Trump actually made during the debate. Is like, well, yeah, all these things, you say you're gonna do them. Why haven't you done them already? I don't know. Why do presidents run for a second term? Why campaign
Yeah,
for
and
a
she
second
could have
term?
done
to begin
better.
with?
That's room for improvement too, I think, on handling that and being like, there's only so much you can get done in 2 years, and let's be serious,
Yeah,
I mean,
she could have flipped on him. It's like you were in the office for 4
yeah,
years,
you
and
were
there's a
in
lot
office
of
for 4 years. You didn't get us out of get us out of Afghanistan.
yeah. You didn't build a wall.
Yeah, you didn't pass the border bill that we passed, that
Yeah.
we tried to pass.
Right.
I mean, machine gun it. Now she's got to step it up, right? Remember,
course.
it's always about escalation, and she needs to step it up and start machine gunning him, continuing to do more of that, even to the extent that she comes across as a bitch. I am totally okay
Me too.
with Kamala Harris coming across as a bitch to millions of Americans as
Of
long as
course.
we win this election.
Yeah.
All right, this is, I think Harold Ford is his name, and he is the only somewhat intellectually responsible person at this table. And notice how polite he is too. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Criticized Tim Walz for some of his positions over the years, and it's fair game because he's on the VP ticket. Project 2025, J.D. Vance wrote the forward for it. So when Democrats point that out, although President Trump has not endorsed it, if it's fair to attack Governor Walz and attack Vice President Harris, then why isn't it fair to suggest that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump? But let's think on that one for a moment. If you listen to
I'll stay there
us
too
around the
long.
table, you listen to some of the media over the last few months describe Kamala Harris, and you watched the debate last night, it was a very different person than how people have described her. She came across, whether you like her policies, and I think we need more information on that, Jesse, I would agree with you, but she came across calm and presidential last night. You may not like what she wants to do, but this idea that she's dumb and she's stupid, I think I've heard President Trump use the word stupid sometimes. She didn't appear that way. I never thought she was that, but if you were watching the debate and watching her for the first time, she didn't appear that way. I think as we think about
A
this
lot
over
of
the
people
next several
did.
days, I think the polling in the 7 key states, and I would add North Carolina to that now, we'll get a chance to see if there was any movement. I don't think there will be a lot of movement, but most people get a little bounce out of the polls if they perform well. And now both sides have said they won. I happen to think Vice President Harris won the debate. Finally, I don't know what either of them, frankly, would do, Jesse, on a lot of things. I know what President Trump did, but they both. And she appeared calm and didn't have to answer as many questions as I wanted her to answer on substance. And he just he got literally baited into every bad decision one could make in a debate. Finally, if you believe, and some people do, I've read in social media and some around the table suggesting that the debate was designed to help her. This is a debate. And if you believe that the questioners are not asking the right questions, as the person in that room, you have a responsibility, and it's on you to raise those issues.
That's right.
And he didn't do that. So
right.
if I'm him, I'm absolutely going to ask for a second debate to be able to do some of the things
Yeah.
that
Plenty
you
more to
guys are
discuss.
brilliantly talking about around the table. But I think you have to honestly say he didn't do.
No,
So, Greg,
yeah.
are you supposed to?
Do you have any idea the kind of ball? I mean, I know he gets paid, but that takes some balls to say that on that network.
No, of course.
That takes some balls to be that real with the Fox News audience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, his assessment is very, very fair. It's the bitter pill that so many of them need to swallow, and I just by the way, he just carefully phrasing it and going over it. Like
He's a professional.
He knows that. He knows that.
He's a professional.
This needs to be-
Unlike most of those hacks over at Fox.
Oh, yeah.
It's like him, Jessica Tarlov, and to a lesser extent that guy Neil, the finance guy, because I forget his name.
Cavuto.
But yeah, Cavuto. He's got half a heart.
Right. Yeah. No. This. It's. I mean, I'm glad like he's actually able to see and identify Trump's obvious and multiple shortcomings in the face of such rank conservative bias. Like the 5 is the worst of the worst.
But like, I mean, the fact that even Jesse Waters, like, he knows that Trump didn't do well, and he's just salesman
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, won't give it up. It's like, dude, he had a tough night. You guys have got problems. Like, do you call yourself a journalist?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Like, are you a journalist? Because you can be a journalist and an editorialist.
Yeah.
But if you're strictly an editorialist, I would argue you're not even that. I would argue you're a propaganda artist.
Right,
We
and
were talking about Trump winning that debate last night.
And this guy made a great point about the moderators too. It's like if they're not asking the questions
Right.
that you want them to ask, like you bring them up yourself. You know.
You can also, you at any point in time, this is what I was talking about. This is going to be a core theme for us, is the appropriate level of entitlement that someone who is engaging in a rhetorical experience with the American public should and must embrace if they are to make the most out of that rhetorical experience.
Yeah.
So she was just doing it. I don't know. I think it was a double-edged sword for Kamala Harris doing better than expected and Trump doing worse than expected.
Mm-hmm.
But for this audience, it's nice to hear that they have someone who's willing to at least try to break
Yeah.
through and give them a grounded profession. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that this guy communicates like a professional.
Yeah.
And he's the smartest at the table. It is not a coincidence that this guy has clearly a very strong training background of some kind in communication.
If you're in a debate,
Yeah.
you have to say, you know what, Vice President Harris, here's what you didn't
In
do,
a normal
and he didn't do
debate,
it.
you would, but he's fighting the moderators who are throwing
look,
lies at him.
He is the only person I know, and I hate this. I actually like the president personally. I've never seen a guy who is as wealthy as he is, has had the breaks and opportunities and worked as hard as he has, complain more about things that everyday candidates have to go through. I've been in debates where I thought that people asking the questions might have been a little unfair, but you know what I did? I tried to outsmart him. I didn't complain about it. This is absurd. He didn't do well last night. He
Manhood.
got to do better the next time.
It's
yeah,
manhood.
That's it. Yeah. No, he
It
gets
really is manhood. It's
No,
dealing
really.
with winning and losing, dude. Just because you lost
Mm-hmm.
once doesn't make you a loser. Everyone loses.
Yeah.
Tom Brady lost 3 Super Bowls. Is Tom Brady a loser? No. He's
Yeah.
the greatest winner in our greatest sport ever.
Yeah, and regardless, conservatives know that Trump lost. That is why they're trying to make it about the moderators and not Trump. Because if you can avert the blame towards the network, ABC, or the moderators, it takes away from the attention
just a
that's being
bitch
put
move.
on. Yeah, it's being.
It's just a bitch move.
No,
It's just
for
like
real.
In
Own up-
winner loser
own up to the-
competitor vernacular, it's just a bitch out.
No, yeah.
You're just fucking bitching out.
Yeah,
complaining to the
like
refs.
just own up to it. Own up to the fact that Trump did horribly. He lost the debate, and just say that. Don't blame the the moderators. Like they didn't even really have to interject that much at all. They just asked their questions, whatever. And Trump obviously lied a hell of a lot more often. So they're going to fact check him on that on things that are blatantly just like inarguably falsehoods.
Well, he
Like
keeps, the repetition is the key for him. So I think
Yeah.
I can feel that he is losing this whole abortion paranoia about,
Mm-hmm.
doctors like killing the baby after it's born and all that shit.
Yeah,
I
not
really
even
think
real.
I really don't think that's landing much anymore.
No, of course.
And I think that the border too, it's messy because he had this. There was this border bill that the Democrats put in front of Mike Johnson that could have been passed under Biden, and Trump obviously killed it. He basically implicitly acknowledged that he did kill it in the last debate.
Yeah.
So he's got that issue for him is not as strong as it was when he was running in 2016 or even in 2020.
Yeah.
And then there's the criminal stuff. He's got all this baggage. And I think just in terms of, Hollywood, or in terms of America, in America, there's a saying, DC is Hollywood for ugly people. Politics is Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah.
Well, if this guy is some sort of hack actor, probably like a stand-up comedian that gets a couple of movies and gets rich doing it, people are tired of it. People are tired. He's like an Adam Sandler type, right? Had a hot streak there, stayed relevant. Actually, not even Adam Sandler. Someone even worse than that and less relevant than that. Someone nice and obscure. But the act is old. People are tired of it.
Yeah.
People are just tired of it, and Kamala represents something new. Although it doesn't sound like people are really believing her because she is new. They think that she's gone on back. American public is ruthless on flip-flopping. It has a very low tolerance for flip-flopping.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's handling it well, but the fact that she has flip-flopped on these issues is sad.
No, like handling it so well, in fact, that Kamala HQ on Twitter posted the entire debate, just the entire debate, and they said, check out our new campaign ad. It's like they are so confident in her performance that they're like, watch the debate. and not to mention, minutes after the debate ended, Kamala Harris was like, I want a second debate. That's confidence. Like
but they're not saying why, though. She needs to say because there's plenty more to talk about, because we only scratched the surface on a very number. Like, you need to go specific. Remember, if you're advocating for change, you need to be as specific as possible for the change that you're proposing. Otherwise, people will become afraid of it very quickly because they won't understand it. And more so in America than in other Western civilizations, we are prone to cultural paranoia.
Yeah, and like it, like if she's asked about it, I'm sure she'll expand on her desire for another debate, which I think there's supposed to be another one anyway. But Trump actually
he said, "Why would you have a second? Why would you have a second fight if you already knocked him down or something?"
Trump said that she immediately said, "We want another debate." When you're a prize fighter and you lose, you immediately want a new fight. He, without knowing, or I guess without having the self-awareness to know that, like, after his debate with Biden, he said immediately that he wanted another one because he arguably won that debate. It's like, come on, dude. He called for a second debate. Right after that one was over.
He trips over his own. He trips over himself all the time. People just aren't paying attention.
Oh yeah.
Because he spews so much bullshit that it's impossible for anybody to keep up.
No, of course.
You need a team to sort through all of his bullshit
Yeah.
and get down to what's really going on. And
yeah,
you know, the fault with the mainstream media isn't so much in diagnosing or criticizing Trump. It's that the Democratic Party has felt entitled to too much power because Trump is so bad.
Yeah.
And they haven't stepped up and delivered in a number of meaningful ways. Like, imagine if they had passed really big time student loan debt. I'm not talking about incremental student loan debt, but what if they had a big time piece of student loan debt legislation? Wouldn't it be nice to have those young voters now? I bet you that regardless of what's going on in Israel, Gaza, those people would still, 90% of them, if they got student loan debt forgiveness, would still vote Democrat, probably for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and that's something that we can get into a little bit later on, because there is still a contingency of online leftists and whatnot who still think that the Green Party is like the way to go. Third parties in general, and it's like they're unable to see the grift of the Green Party and whatnot. And
tell us about the grift of the Green Party.
So it's been said before, and AOC actually made this a point in a live stream that she did, but the Green Party does not do anything in between elections. They go into debt and they grift off of their supporters or trick people into sending them money by like saying that they are a worthwhile alternative that actually has any modicum of a chance, and they don't. And Jill Stein is obviously the figurehead of the Green Party and has been for a long time. And their only purpose for existing is to just siphon votes from the Democrats. All of their criticisms and all of their rhetoric is anti-Democrat. They very rarely, if ever, go after Republicans. They trick people into thinking that both parties are the same, or that they, even though the Green Party, policy platform-wise, is far to the left of the Democrats, and I agree with pretty much everything that they stand for. A lot of them actually feel like Trump would be a better alternative to Kamala Harris.
You're the Jimmy Dore left.
Yes, which is beyond ridiculous, and
it's like super cynics.
Mm-hmm, yeah, they have no ground game. They have no actual plan for taking power or utilizing power. They don't have anything.
Don't have. Look at their leadership.
Yeah.
It's been the same for 12 years. Jill Stein is the Green Party, and until she's not, then I don't really see the Green Party being something that I'm terribly interested in, regardless, because they don't have the power.
No,
why should I respect you? You're a loser. You're a fucking loser.
I mean, on top of that, they're just completely fucking dishonest too. I get into it with people that actually think that they have a chance. It's just how much of the vote do they actually get in the past several elections and whatnot? And what happens is, in swing states, they take just enough votes away from the Democrats to where the Republicans end up winning anyway. It's not which, I mean, a good example is 2000 for Bush versus Gore. The Green Party in Florida took just enough votes away for it not to be a clean victory for Al Gore. What happened? Bush took office and over 1 million Iraqis died. That's
so my understanding though is that those Green voters in Florida weren't enough or something. I don't know. It's a little bit more complicated than
of course it is.
Ralph Nader was the reason Al Gore didn't get elected. I think Bill Clinton not resigning after the embarrassment of lying to the American people about blowjobs in the Oval Office was probably why Al Gore didn't beat George W. Bush.
Right.
Al Gore was just a robot of a human being. But, hey, that's better talent than what the Green Party's been putting out. Ralph Nader is a policy wonk. He wrote a book. Great. He's not Hollywood, man. You got to have a certain amount of camera talent in order to be a real contender.
Yeah. And my point is, I'm not saying that, I'm not voter shaming, for lack of a better term. I'm just saying that the reality is there is no path for victory for the Green Party from the top down. If you're just committing all your fucking resources to the top of the ticket, the presidency, and not putting in the same or more effort into down ballot races, go for a House seat, then you're not a serious organization. Not to mention if you're de facto helping the fascists in the Republican Party by taking away votes from what could possibly more than likely go to the Democrats. Not saying that that's a given. Obviously not. not every like green voter is going to be like, oh, I support the duopoly. I'll throw my vote at the Democrats, but at the same time, like it needs to be acknowledged with like just a modicum of honesty that the Green Party is not worth supporting. If anything, you know, if you're in a safe state that's going to go red or blue anyway, then that's fine. But in swing states where it actually matters to prevent the Republicans from taking power again, that they absolutely do not deserve and would wield and weaponize against Americans for the worst, then your advocacy is not worthwhile, like whatsoever.
Right on. I did want to finish up with these guys on this last story
Sure.
because this is pretty big news.
Sure.
And I would love for Taylor Swift to endorse something I'm doing. I think would be great.
Yes.
I think the real political issue, and I think the judge raises a point, but I would offer a different perspective. I think the question becomes that you look at her fans aged 18 to 30 who have not voted before.
Yeah.
Who vote scant and a scant way over the last cycle, 2-3 cycles. How many of them will vote? Number one, and two, where do they live? I mean, do they live in the 6-7 states that are most important? I mean, we all know that. So I think and I agree with Dane. I think this was probably a good thing last night for it to happen. I think the timing couldn't have been better.
Well, Hulk Hogan's much more influential, so take that to the bank, Harold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, bud. See you next time, Jesse.
Just
That's enough
pure
of him.
cope. It's just like, come on,
But
dude.
Harold is a sharp guy. You know, I respect his intellect. He's got a tough position where he's got to constantly be dishing out respect where it's not deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't really respect those people intellectually, but for his job, he has to act as if he does. And,
Yeah.
because they're lazy. They just straight up
Yeah.
take the most superficial analysis. This is what one of my core episodes, the self-serving superficiality of conservative capitalist cognition.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about stupidity with MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
It's about intellectual laziness.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
It's about intellectual laziness. And then that gets weaponized emotionally for people who are living wretched lives because they want someone to blame for their miserable lives. And that's where you end up with the Confederate flag waving, Bible beating, gun nut culture.
Yeah.
Extremes. That's where you end up with those people marching in Charlottesville saying Jews will not replace us. They live miserable lives.
Big
They're
time.
not happy people.
No, of course. I mean, it couldn't be more obvious. Like all the copium overdosing all over Twitter and Facebook and what have you. Not to mention on this panel right here, it's like it must be hard trying to like, you know, drip feed doses of reality
Yeah.
to these clowns only for it to be, you know, passively rejected. You know, it's definitely a tough position to be in, but you know, they need to wake the fuck up, smell the roses.
Yeah, they're not going to though. They're going to be in denial, and it'll be interesting to see.
It's their job to. Yeah.
If Kamala wins, it'll be interesting to see if this whole seeds that he's been planting about election fraud being weaponized. I don't know. We'll see. Let's
Right.
take a look at the latest polls really quick. Just check in with those. There's not a ton has come out, except for one that was sponsored by the New York Post and done by Ledger, with 1,112, almost 1,200 sample size of likely voters. Had
Wow.
Harris up 3, and
the
then
New York
the
Post
infamous.
too. They're pretty conservative.
That's what I'm saying. Then the bigger one though is Red Eagle Politics because they're really conservative.
Yeah.
And SoCal Strategies is their little partner in crime with their conservative propaganda over there.
That's
This
interesting.
guy's such a douchebag, man. Red Eagle. He's
Yeah.
like this kid from Dallas. He's like super young. And he thinks he knows everything, talks as if he's in the right about everything, wears his MAGA hat.
Yeah.
He's just like such a douchebag. And he's selling. See, it's the opposite on the left than it is the right, because on the left, you're kind of trying to tell people it's never good enough. It's never good enough. We got to win by a touchdown or more. And on the right, you're always trying to sell the idea that, oh, we're good, man, we're winning, we're in, we
Yeah.
just got to do what we got to do. It's like a completely different message.
Yeah, I got a chatter that says, this is from Caesar Consuelo Provida. Harris did not clap anything, least of all Donald Trump. You probably didn't watch the debate, bud. Like you're coping super hard. I would, get your head checked. Probably, possibly, perhaps, maybe. Keep watching this show. Maybe you'll learn something. But thanks for joining, regardless. Trump's cheeks most definitely got clapped. It's undeniable. So that general election poll, that those two that we looked at, those are the latest ones. Nothing from the swing states.
No, nothing from the swing states. I'll double check right now.
Yeah. By the time we do our show next week, by then, hopefully, like some polls will be out, like that will reflect the opinions of people.
Change, yeah.
Yeah, post debate, which will be really interesting to see. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I hope she starts to, at some point, embrace win by a touchdown.
Yeah.
We got to
7
cover
points,
the spread.
baby.
It's not good enough to win by a field goal. We got to win by a touchdown to make sure we cover the spread.
Yes.
And then if we're up a touchdown, let's go get another field goal and make it 2 possessions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's let's embrace the football talk. We have a football coach as our vice presidential nominee, for Christ's sake. So I'm sure they'll do it.
For real.
I mean, Donnie Deutsch on Morning Joe, I think this morning, said that she's got to win by a touchdown, but no one stopped and was like, wait a second, she should use that. Like that, because people can't help but look at the polls. A lot of people are saying, don't look at the polls, don't look at the polls. People are going to look at the polls. It's like, don't look in the box, don't look in the box. People are going to look in the box. They can't help it.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're going to look at the polls. So it's on you to deal with how they process those polls. And if you say that you got to win by a touchdown or more, then that's a nice competitive disposition. I'm getting back into coaching on Friday, by the way. I'm super pumped. And
sweet.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's older guys, community college age guys, 19, 20-year-old guys.
Sweet.
And we've got some talent. So it's going to be fun to coach instead of the 10 and 12-year-olds.
That's awesome. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Because I was yelling at them. I felt bad. But I wanted them to win. And I'm glad because I taught them a lot. I tell you what, you West Coasters, man, you guys, you got some winners that come from here, for sure. But the culture of California does not lend itself to traditional competitive approaches that have a better chance of success, especially within a political context, as do the cultures of the Northeast Corridor.
Right. No, I'm inclined to agree with that. Like, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I love California, but you guys are lovers out here, man. You're there are some
That's
there's
right.
a lot of fighters too. There's
No,
a lot
of
of
course.
fighters too, but even the fighters are kind of lovers first and then fighters second.
Yeah.
So, what else did you want to talk about today? I mean, Taylor Swift. We should talk about Taylor Swift. So, Taylor Swift endorsement's a pretty big freaking deal. I'm glad that she did it when she did it. I'm glad she didn't do it when Biden was the nominee, so that it just didn't look like a desperate favor or something.
Yeah.
Their timing seems to be impeccable.
It was perfect.
well written. Let's make sure we don't give her credit for writing it, because she definitely didn't write it, or someone helped her talk through writing it and what it should sound like. But I'm thrilled that someone of her celebrity status has decided to get involved, because as far as female celebrities go, I guess the pop star kind of reigns supreme, right? Like with the men, it's the A-list athlete, like the Tom Brady's of the world. Like those are the real superlative versions of that culture. What's a superlative version of the female in American pop culture? It's kind of the pop star, isn't it?
Yeah, she has a gigantic range of influence. The Swifties, as they call them, they are relentless. They are ruthless. They will come cracking down on the haters, so to
Right.
speak. And so this will definitely make a big difference, for sure. It's got a young fan base, and this very well may energize the youth vote in particular. There's no telling just how uh, politically in tune and adept that her fan base is, let alone her. But if anything, it's like she was probably approached by the Harris campaign, or at least like someone within the Democrats, and
Well, apparently
it doesn't hurt.
she endorsed Biden 4 years ago. It just wasn't that big of a deal at the time.
Sure, yeah, and
But I think this feels like a pretty big deal to me. And
Yeah.
let's be serious. A lot of voting is just showing up and
Literally.
filling out the paperwork.
that's it.
It's like I'm not asking you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm asking you to fill out the paperwork not once, but twice every even year.
Yeah, like actually turning out and casting your vote.
Right.
That's
Showing up. Well, that's what they say that's the saying that's in the campaign right now is when we fight, we win. I mean, it's even more basic than that. When we show up, we win. We got the numbers.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, that's also should be like we got the facts, we got the truth, we got the experts, we got the numbers.
Yeah,
We got it all, baby. All we got to do is show up.
yeah, exactly.
This is not a, and that's maybe as we get closer to the election, they'll try to reframe the election a little bit more like that, as this is not a friendly fight where we're just trying to win by a field goal or a possession. We're trying to embarrass our opponent.
Exactly.
We want to run the score up.
Yeah.
And we are trying to make sure that MAGA is a thing of the past starting in 2024. Because whether you like it or not, MAGA is a huge part of our political life right now. 50%.
That's right.
Roughly 50% of our political life is MAGA. A little bit less than that.
Yeah, hopefully after this election that just fades the fuck away.
It won't. I think it'll actually be. I'm working on this episode of. It's entitled. I don't know if I don't know. It's a working title, but it's like how. It was originally called "How Trump Saved America," or how like the silver lining of Trump's sleaze or something like that.
Yeah.
And basically, it's shined his existence as a political figure has shined a light on this very ugly, deep, dark part of the GOP that a lot of people in the GOP are too ashamed to admit exists. Like I always grew up a conservative, conflicted about why are we in the same political party as the KKK? Why are we in the same political party as the Nazis?
Yeah.
Why are we in the same political party as the racist white trash that didn't want to integrate schools?
Right.
And
Exactly.
that obviously became apparent to me why as I became more educated. But that's all to say that there are a lot of conservatives who are living in denial about their political identity.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's like, as horrifying as, Trump is and what he represents and what he has done and what he plans to do and what everyone around him plans to do and wants to get done and just change about this country, just change it for the worse, as just terrifying as all that is, I'm kind of grateful for it because it's like I like the way that you think about it, the way that you approach it, because I've actually kind of been thinking about this as well. It's like we have no one else to thank for just holding up a gigantic mirror to the face of America than Donald Trump.
Yep.
And the fact that he changed the Supreme Court to what it is now, and the fact that they were so brazen and just overturning
long term
precedent.
they will never recover from that politically with abortion. It's going to take an entire generation to get over
Sure.
those Supreme Court justice appointments because women, like anybody that's younger than me, including you, has grown up being conditioned to be a lot more protective of women.
No, yeah.
Every generation has become more empathetic towards women than the
Exactly.
generation prior.
Yeah.
So this whole war on reproductive rights, like that was stupid as far as the GOP is concerned for them to actually follow through on that and get Roe v. Wade overturned.
Yeah, I mean, it should never happen, but in a way, I also thank them because for them to go that far, it has
Shows their sociopathy. Yeah, it shows the extent to which their narcissistic entitlement defines them. They think that they have a right to instill their values, to inject their values into personal healthcare decisions.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's shaken a lot of people awake. It's like, oh shit, like things are a lot more fragile than I anticipated. You know,
Yeah.
like it could change at the drop of a Supreme Court case. You know, at the drop of a vote from the Supreme Court of the United States, and that in and of itself energizes people. It motivates people, gives them purpose, it gives them a drive because they don't want their fucking rights taken away. Like
No.
what else is at risk? Is gay marriage next?
Oh, yeah. It's in Project 2025.
No, of course. Yeah, it's and this is what people are thinking about now. This is what people have to consider, and we have no one else to thank but Donald Trump and everybody like surrounding him, as well as his Supreme Court appointments. And
No, this is the deep, dark, ugly base of the Republican Party. That's what's so disconcerting, I think, to outsiders, and so difficult for people to understand about MAGA is just how big it is and how long it's been around for. It's nothing new. It's the old Jim Crow culture, just the legacy of that.
yeah, we're
And
seeing the
building upon that, things like anti-evolution and like all sorts of self-righteous, narcissistic expression.
We're seeing the consequences of that play out, like just boldface, and it's like I said, we're us as progressives in general, we're grateful for it, but like of course the results need to come to fruition first, and we did see that in the midterms.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, the Republican Party is like cockroaches. They never go away. So
yeah,
they'll be back in 4 years. We'll still be here talking to you about it.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see who the next face of the GOP is if, knock on wood, Kamala wins this thing, which I hope she does. And I hope we should actually, let me check in on the Senate races because I don't know if a recent poll has come out for Montana. Let's go.
Yeah, because wasn't it trending slightly more towards the Republican?
Hold on. Wait, why is this not? Sorry, dude. Hold
No worries.
on. Keep talking.
Yeah, no. That is. I mean, ultimately, it's like when Trump brings up, oh, why didn't she get this done, or why, she had 4 years to do it. It's like, well, you need the Senate and the House, but it's not like he gives a fuck about that. Like he wants to be a dictator. He just wants to like. He just wants to rule. He just wants to say things and like it happen because that's how it's been his whole life. He's had the power and the money and the ability to just have things handed to him. But you need
All right.
the Congress.
And speaking of the Congress, this is the Senate side of things. These polls are all September 9th or older. So
Those are a couple days ago.
they're all Democrats blue except for Scott in Florida, which is too bad. That would be a nice upset. That would be a really nice upset.
Yeah. Maybe
Your
if you get enough turnout, I mean, it's possible.
And then Cruz is up 5.
Yeah.
That was an 8-day poll
Mm-hmm.
from Morning Consult. It was a huge poll.
Yeah.
Almost 3,000 sample size. You seen that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All rid. Man, I would love to get rid of Ted Cruz.
That'd be amazing.
Oh, that would be so amazing.
Yeah.
He's such a likable guy too, Allred.
Oh yeah.
Such a dude. Yeah, such a great guy. He had a nice speaking spot at the convention.
Was there? So there wasn't a more recent one for Montana?
No,
Okay.
nothing for Montana. Nothing for. There's Arizona. That's Gallego. Michigan,
Alex
Slauson.
Martz says, "I don't like sounding like a wacky liberal, but women and black people are going to save democracy." Nice. Yes. Yeah, I mean, for I don't disagree
For now.
whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, that's true, and it's like the attitude though is that this fight is never going to end in our lifetime.
Mhm.
Like that's the evolution. That's the evolution of left-wing thinking and having to think like a winner. Is that this is a cancer that we cannot cut out. We can only radiate it, and we get opportunities to radiate it every 2 years.
Right. Yeah, and it's like just rendering the Republican Party obsolete is, I mean,
In the best interests of America, in the best interests of this
yeah,
country.
Exactly.
There's nothing good that comes from
No.
Republican legislation.
No, not at
Nothing.
all. Damien says, "Gotta admit, I don't know what world you are living in. No
Oh,
one
nice.
won Republican here." Well, I think Kamala
one won?
won. Yeah,
No, man.
referring to the.
What's his name? Damien?
Yeah.
Damien, check out my channel, man. Go to the early episodes.
Mhm.
And if you really want to give someone who came from a conservative household, knows the ins and outs of conservative culture very well, if you want to take the challenge of watching your ideology be socioculturally deconstructed in a very intellectually grounded and responsible way, check out my earliest episodes.
Yeah.
And you will come to know the manipulation that you are currently being suffered, because unless you're a 1%er or have some other form of investments in corporations, there's no financial reason for you to be voting Republican.
Not at all. I mean, I completely agree with him because like his videos are great. I'm without those videos that he's talking about right now, we probably wouldn't have started this show. Like I was so impressed by them. They're great videos. I strongly suggest checking those out for sure.
Well, there's just so much noise out there. I've got to like come up with something that's like, if I do break through someday and end up with more than 266 subscribers, then I do want there to be kind of stuff like, be like, hey, I said this back in 2020, and I've been talking to you guys about these old conservative playbooks because it keeps working.
Mhm.
That's the problem, is that the playbook from the GOP, since Mitch McConnell has been their godfather, has been the same.
Yeah.
It's the same playbook. And I was telling
Hasn't
everybody like top 10 conservative people to look up. But yeah, I mean, Lee Atwater is someone that everybody should do a deep dive on at some point if they want to understand how the culture war really came to be the great distraction in American politics. Because it is a distraction. No, I mean, people on the left don't want to deal with culture war issues.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about transgenderism. We don't want to talk about racism and xenophobia. But you guys, the right, keeps bringing it up. And, you know, you're too stupid, stubborn, sociopathic, or just plain ignorant to know that you are these things.
It's not like these are new issues either. Like the culture war has been festering since the advent of conservative talk radio in the 90s. Like Reagan spearheaded a lot of these modern cultural conservative opinions and whatnot. Like it's been manifested in the conservative zeitgeist for decades now. Only with the rise of the internet and YouTube and what have you, and the fact that you can make money off of being angry online as a conservative all day and just regurgitate conservative talking points and out extreme yourself uh, program by program. That's why there's such an abundance of this. It's like with that, the Republican Party has gotten more and more extreme to their detriment. It hasn't worked out for them at all. Whereas, but they've still had the same platform. It just hasn't been as emboldened and direct as it is today. You know, they're a lot more out front and forward with a lot
They've
of
been
these
exposed.
Exactly.
They've been
Whereas
exposed.
the Democrats, you know, to an extent, you know, they're very pragmatic. They've gotten more progressive over the years as well. I mean, to the extent where it would satisfy lefties like us, that definitely remains to be seen. There's a lot of work to do, but
Well, I think more than anything else, what lefties like us and lefties who are technically right of us, you know what I mean, just less involved, normies, we'll call them, right? That's what
Yeah.
normies.
yeah,
They just want to win.
hmm
At some point, they just want to win. Like we do, whether we like. You start out in America in our childhood. We're programmed to think of life in terms of winning and losing. We have to be deprogrammed of that through education and other forms of life experience. But we are predisposed in this country towards competition at
Yeah.
a very early age, and it's to our detriment.
without a
It's
doubt.
to our detriment. That's where this whole idea of handouts and the resentment that comes from handouts derives, is our competitive culture. Oh, so and so is getting something that I'm not getting. Well, does he deserve to get it? Should I be getting it instead? It's like there's no
Yeah.
trust in the system.
Right.
It feeds the fear. Because at the end of the day, you talk to the great athletes of Joe Montana and Tom Brady, in the big moments, what really motivated them to focus? Was it the glory of success and winning? Or was it the utter fear and dread of losing?
Yeah.
It
yeah.
was the fear and dread of losing every fucking time.
No, of
It was
course.
more of the hatred that of losing that inspires focus.
Yeah.
There's that moment. Do you remember in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, where he said, "Do you want to kill me?" when he takes out the lightsaber on Palpatine, and he
I'd
said, "I
certainly
surely
like
like to." He said, "Are you going to?" He said, "I certainly like to." It's like, "I know you would. I can feel your anger. It
Yeah.
gives you focus." It's like that's not wrong.
That's
That's not
yeah.
wrong. That's what athletes use to outwork their opponent is their anger. There's this attitude of, you think you're going to deny me something that I've worked for? Like you're standing in my way?
George
Okay,
Lucas was
here we
on
go.
to something big time with that. The politics of the prequels has only fascinated me more and more and more as the years have gone on. Megan says 80s was talk radio boom. Yeah, 80s, 90s. I know Rush Limbaugh was like
It
king
really
of
came down to
conservative
the
radio.
legislatively, though. If you ever want to understand our media environment comprehensively, study the Fairness Doctrine and then study Bill Clinton's Telecom Act.
Right.
For all of you media buffs out there, because I'm
Yep.
realizing we do run into that personality type quite a bit. They're the people who like the medium is the message. They actually know who Marshall McLuhan is and what that means and how we are getting manipulated and how it
Yeah.
all works with commerce and invading the integrity of what used to be a public good.
Right. Yeah. No.
I'm trying to get in good with a local journalist here in Santa Barbara, but I'm worried he's gonna lump me in with David Pakman. I mean, it's like David Pakman and Jimmy Dore give the online left such a bad name.
Yeah, I mean, David Pakman serves his purpose in appealing to liberals, but that's about it. You know, he's not as progressive as I once considered him to be. And then Jimmy Dore is just a lunatic that doesn't believe in anything, and of course gives the online left a bad name. Nobody should take him seriously.
And now he's gone full MAGA. He's
Pretty
just gone
much.
full mask off MAGA. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But the fact that normies don't even know who those people are, and they don't even know the difference between progressive and liberal, that's the intellectual frontier. That's like
Yeah.
graduating. I say, like, we're stuck in elementary school, and we need to graduate middle school. We can graduate middle school in a presidency, but we can't graduate high school. That's going to take 2 terms, if
Yeah.
not 2 presidencies.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, and not to mention normies and people who just follow politics at a really surface level. They have different interpretations themselves of the words liberal and conservative. It means different things to different people. And but that's like considered I mean, that's the Overton window. That's the defined borders of acceptable political dialogue.
Kulinski talks about it a
Yep.
lot, but what I will say is that actually constitutes an opportunity rhetorically with them, because they don't have those terms defined as specifically as they should, and they know it, and they're open to listening to someone who knows more than them about what those lines of demarcation intellectually are.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to get into the weeds, right? So
Right.
you reframe it as incremental versus structural change. That's
Yeah.
liberal versus progressive. That's it.
Mhm.
That's how I reframe it for people.
Yeah,
because
that's
at the end of the day, you can get people to agree that we need change, and then the next step is, well, do we need big change or little change? Most people want big change. Okay, well, progressives are the only ones calling for big time change.
Yeah, that's actually a really good line of difference, for lack of a better term. It really does like how bold do you want the change to be, like, and how deep do you want it to go, because I mean, that's why there's a difference. It's why I'm not a liberal, whatsoever, because a lot of them are just fine with the way things are a whole lot of the time, and that's unacceptable.
Well, the easiest thing, if you have to pay for your own health insurance, is to understand that nobody likes their health insurance.
Yeah,
Nobody really wants to get health care that they don't need. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I have to pay for that I don't need for my health care, but I have to get it at a certain level for other reasons.
yeah,
And, there's no just simple plan that I can plug in. Here's what my needs are. What's my monthly, was it like $200? I'd be fine with like a $300 or $400 a month premium. Instead, it's like a lot more than that, like 3 or 4 times that.
yeah.
And it's just absolutely absurd.
Beyond
It's
absurd.
absurd.
Yeah.
So that's the personal experience you can really draw from. The fact that where I was going with that was that the idea that you can have any faith in private health insurance at this point. Why? Why do you have any faith in private health insurance?
Yeah.
What makes you think that the for-profit motive can deliver health care, not pharmaceuticals, not drugs, not certain services, whatever's basic fucking health care? Why do you think that, for example, insulin, like, if insulin were just free, that takes care of like 40% of diabetes patients or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain enormous quantities within the mosaic of healthcare issues that if you took care of them, you'd be taking care of like 80% of the population. So anyway, that's all by way of saying healthcare is like the holy grail of policy for the left, followed by education. And I think that the fact that we're not talking about Medicare for all is ultimately disappointing. Like, I thought that would get sticky after 2016. I thought that would stick around for the next round, but it didn't.
Right. Yeah. No. Unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, it's like we've talked about before. It comes down to political marketing. I mean, the least that the Harris campaign can do right now is discuss it a bit more. I mean, tweaks around the Affordable Health Care Act. It's something, but it's not nearly enough. I mean, for crying out loud, Joe Biden in the 2020 primaries suggested he was open to going with the public option, and we saw zero movement on that. Nothing changed. Just tweaks around Obamacare, and that was it.
Just tweaks around Obamacare, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it shows you. I'm glad we watched the conservative media because it shows you how just outright delusional what consumerism does to the concept of truth,
Yeah.
and how you can watch that debate. I mean, I remember. You might be a little too young, but do you remember the Dick Cheney debate in 2004
Never watched
versus
that one,
that guy
actually.
Roberts or whatever?
Never saw that one, actually, no.
It was the most one-sided, technically sound ass whooping I've ever seen on a political debate stage. Cheney just knew his facts and knew how to present his positions in just a cold-blooded killer
Yeah.
approach, and he just destroyed him. And my buddy, I was traveling in, it was 2004, and Cheney Roberts, I'm pretty sure was the guy's name, guy from North Carolina. He ended up having a sex scandal. But anyway, Cheney Edwards, that's who it was, John Edwards, Democrat from North Carolina.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, so it's just like objective. My buddy who was progressive, very progressive at the time, he said that he's like, yo, I'm as left as they come. And that's the worst ass whooping I've ever seen on a political debate stage.
Did you see,
And,
did you watch Jon Stewart today? Or, like,
No.
did you see what he covered the debate from last night, and he mentioned Dick Cheney, and I think you get a kick out of what he
Can
had
we
to say.
cover him or no? Do we get copyright
We
strike?
will get copyright struck, unfortunately. Yeah.
But other people are allowed to cover it. We're not.
I still don't get that, honestly. Maybe if it's in a small window in comparison, or if it's playing off Twitter, I really don't get the system.
Oh, maybe
actually.
if it's a bite that they release on YouTube,
Maybe.
it's open to the public.
But even so, well, because I know we had issues with real time with Bill Maher, but I don't. Yeah, I think we covered a little bit of Jon Stewart before, but we had issues with both of those. I forget when it came to copyright strike.
Bill Maher's
but-
got to go. Bill Maher is so far past. Bill Maher's got to get replaced. HBO come on, HBO. You guys are. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's called Max now. Why the hell did they get rid of the name? HBO was such a great brand.
Yeah.
Idiots.
I don't get. I still call it HBO Max. Like, you know.
What were they thinking? Idiots.
Right. No kidding.
All right. Well, I'm pretty much out of steam unless there's anything else you want to discuss.
I mean, other than the fact that 23 years ago today, our country was attacked.
Yeah, we should close them. Yeah. Yeah, so where were you? Where were you when 9/11 happened?
Well, I was 6. I was in first
Do you
grade.
remember it?
I do. I do remember it. My memory of the day itself is a bit fuzzy, but I know that my dad was at work, and he called my mom early in the morning because when it happened, like over on the West Coast, it was like not even like 6 in the morning, when everything
Right.
was happening.
It was 9, a little bit after 9 a.m.
That's when the second tower was hit.
Eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He called my mom and said like, don't take the kids to school. We were just attacked, and I just didn't go to school that day. I mean I understand, but it meant I get to watch PBS Kids all day or Cartoon Network or whatever. But when I went back to school and I started seeing some news clips of it, seeing I do vividly remember seeing on the TV like a plane hitting the towers and whatnot. And that at school, I remember they had us. There were the rallies or whatever, where all the kids come out and get together and whatnot, and some of the older students would read like letters that they would write that they wrote that they would send off to families of the victims and whatnot. So I do remember it being a big deal, but I was just too young to fully understand or grasp it at the time for sure. But it wasn't until maybe I got to like 13, 14, and was using computers a bit more, where I would go on YouTube and out of curiosity, I assume it was because it was a 9/11 anniversary was piqued my curiosity about it more than likely. Um, just watching old news clips, like coverage of the day as it happened, and just seeing and hearing people's like firsthand, like on the spot reactions to the second plane hitting the tower, because
Yeah.
it's like at that moment is when it just clicked for everybody, because all the cameras in New York were on the North Tower burning to begin with, and not even 20 minutes later a second plane comes, and it's like,
Right.
holy fucking shit, and that's definitely stuck with me, just going back and revisiting it and learning a lot more about it and whatnot. I mean, to this day, still a lot of questions up in the air, obviously, but it's a very impactful day for a fucking reason. Like, the country was attacked on its own soil since for the first time since Pearl Harbor on that day.
That's right.
Where were you?
That's right. So I was in English class, and the classroom belonged to a history professor who came in and told us that a plane had flown into one of the Twin Towers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we broke out the internet and turned on the TV, and by the time we got the TV on, I believe the second plane had already hit.
Oh.
And so we were kind of like, everyone was watching the TV, whatever. I was like kind of a hardcore Christian at the time, or exploring with Christianity at the time. And so I went down and talked to a teacher that ran the Bible study, and there was the headmaster came by, and the three of us, I said, do you think we should do like a school prayer or something? And he was like, yeah, it's a good idea. And he was a pretty authoritative guy. He knew how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Said, we're not going to interrupt classes or send people home or anything like that. We're going to carry on with our lives. And there's nothing we can do for them except for maybe give blood, And,
Yeah.
So it was a pretty waspy response, but it was a good one. We did get together as a school and have a prayer, and we did a big event, fundraiser that weekend for the sporting events that weekend. So that was good. I mean, it was amazing how it rocked the world, though, from a security standpoint. It made everything for security so much more expensive.
Yeah.
Everything. Insurance is more expensive. Everything's more expensive because of terrorism. And
Yeah. Gotta take your shoes off at the airport now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sad that we have to live with the consequences of negligence too, because there was an intelligence report that came out 6 weeks, I think, prior to 9/11, sometime in August, and it said that there was a threat coming. There was something coming. Nobody really knew what it was, but they were getting the vibe from their sources that something's coming to the continental United States. So
Right.
they didn't have it's just people have it's weird to see MAGA have such confidence in Trump and his government, because and see them have so much confidence in our military, but yet have no confidence in the government representing the people's interests in something like healthcare or education. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But it goes.
Juggalos.
My point is that they had so much faith that our airline security would keep up with the pace of growth of the threat.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't. And why is because airline travel at the time was a big, fat, ugly, wasteful, delay-ridden, tech-ridden business, and the companies weren't making much money. I don't know if you recall, if you knew that about the airline industry. But,
Yeah, they
you know,
rely a lot on subsidies. Yeah.
Yeah, the economics of airline travel aren't really all that great.
No.
I always thought that the way that they do routes don't make any sense anyway. You should be able to just, if you know when you need a flight, you could just put in like a date range like you would do on an Airbnb and say, I need to leave around these dates and come back around these dates, and then that creates the demand for the flight and so on and so forth. Anyway, 9/11, back to it. I did want to show one quick thing this is something that everybody should see. This is the most dramatic, and it's only a few seconds. This is the most dramatic real live footage of 9/11 that I've ever seen.
Take two. Take 2 and 2. 1. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
Jesus.
And he's just blocking the footage. He's yelling at his shite.
Yeah, so
Everyone's hitching rides. It's chaos. Hold on. This is actually, I'll scroll through.
yeah, I remember.
It's good stuff. It's like everybody needs to see this.
Yeah.
Because, like, to know people who were there, I know a buddy who had friends who died in the towers, and it must have it just for New York and the Northeast, but also just Western civilization. You know, the threat of Muslim extremism was made well aware of in that moment, and that became a huge problem that we would have to solve. The good news is there hasn't been a real major foreign act of terrorism on U.S. soil since, right? There have been a bunch of domestic terrorist attacks, as we know, like mass shootings like the one we had last week in Georgia. But I don't think there's been an international strike on U.S. soil from a terrorist group.
Not since then, I don't believe so. Megan, don't worry, I'm following what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, relay. I'm done talking. I'm monologuing.
So, just released video, third or other building, maybe just released, or at least I saw it for the first time. I don't know. Megan, you might be referring to building number 7, which was, as far as I understand.
Building?
Yeah, World Trade Center 7, I believe, is like the name of the building. It was like right underneath the North Tower. And from what I understand, when the North Tower fell, basically it just crumbled on top of the 7th tower, and eventually that one fell as well. And
yeah,
not to mention, like, those buildings, like, everything is all structured basically together, especially like underneath the streets and whatnot, underneath the buildings. So it was just like basically like a domino effect as far.
yeah, think about when they were built too. The technology that they were using wasn't nearly as sophisticated in building those large of a structures.
Yeah,
there's a cool documentary about the new buildings that people should check out. I think it's called like 8 acres or 6 acres or something like that.
Something like that. I'm not sure. Really faster.
What?
So, American Airlines Flight 77 hit the Pentagon. I know World Trade Center. Is that the same? No,
16 acres. That's what people should check out, is 16 acres.
So yeah, there's a plane that hit the Pentagon, but the World Trade Center 7 wasn't hit by a plane. It was just hit by falling debris of the North Tower.
The other thing that the
cheeky.
terrorists that I don't want to say we got lucky, but the strategy that they had was not as effective as it could have been in terms of the targets. So
yeah,
going after the Pentagon makes no sense because that, of all the buildings, that is one that was actually built specifically to withstand a military attack.
Yeah, not to mention like it's 5 stories tall, and like what you're just gonna hit one side of it. Like it. I mean, if they really wanted to do significant like economic damage, especially, um, they would have gone after like one of the multiple bridges around New York that are used every single day. It would have
Right,
it would
like
have
Brooklyn
caused.
Bridge or something like that.
Yeah, it would have caused a standstill, a redirecting of all traffic, longer commutes for years. You
Right.
know,
It's a good point.
Yeah, so
But
it's
I was
like,
also thinking in terms of symbolic destruction.
That's
They should have
why
gone.
did-
I think the one that crashed in Pennsylvania was probably going for the White House
or the Capitol.
but
Yeah,
they would or the Capitol. Like, why didn't they both go? They should have had one for each. But they were. You know, originally that plan was like 10 cities. It was like a building in Boston they were going to go after. There's a building in Los
Crazy.
Angeles they were going to go after. They were going to go after the Transamerica building in
I didn't know that.
San Francisco. Yeah, it was the original plan was like 10 cities. And
Jeez. Was
imagine
this
if they had pulled that off.
was this c- part of like an intel drop? That and that part just wasn't redacted, or how was this learned about?
That's part of the just research that I've done. If you can,
Okay.
if you Google, if you rabbit hole 9/11, Osama bin Laden and his plans for 9/11, that's the most ambitious version of them. Was like 10 cities. It was like, yeah, it was Boston, New York, D.C., Chicago, L.A., San Francisco, minimum.
Damn.
Yeah.
Megan says videos of the Pentagon. Some comments say that it hit the office holding documents regarding the missing $2.3 trillion. Yeah, I mean there's a handful of conspiracies out there that do kind of raise some eyebrows, but you know they don't really hold as much water. They can be explained away by like a variety of things, for sure. But it is kind of weird how there really isn't. I think there's only like maybe 2 videos of the Pentagon actually being hit that have been released to the public.
Right.
But yeah, Megan, you'll have to link me that video and whatnot. But yeah, crazy day. But the consequences that have stemmed from it, such as the Patriot Act and just like
Yeah.
et cetera, have been you know, awful as well. Not to mention the mass killings and basically like genocide that we carried out in Iraq afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's embarrassing.
big time. Sad day.
It's sad and embarrassing, and it's a part of America's legacy now. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
There's nothing we can do to take away all of the mistakes that have been made ever since 1980, except for learn from them.
Yeah, no kidding. Don't repeat history.
Karl Marx.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else, or should we call it a day? Yeah, I think that's all I wanted. That's all I had on 9/11.
No, yeah, that's it for me as well. I'm just still just real friggin' happy that the debate went way better than I anticipated. She just let Donald Trump cook with delight in her eyes, and you know he it was she absolutely loved him last night.
Yeah, I hope she enjoys this ride.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to the
Because the more fun you have, the more fun we'll have. But make sure when you get into office in January that you grind for a good solid 18 months and set the country up for, a ripple effect of positive change. Because I don't believe in incrementalism, but it's what we're going to get.
yeah.
And if it's good, then we can build on it and have even bigger change.
Yeah.
And we don't need the big time revolution that I call for. But I think ultimately we're going to need it at some point because we're just never going to get the quantity or quality or pace of change that we need.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew just before the debate even started when they both went out on stage, because what you're supposed to do if you have any modicum of, I guess, decency or, I guess, respect for not tradition, but I guess customs, I guess you could say, you meet at the middle and you shake hands before the debate. And Trump went right to his podium, and Kamala basically like chased his ass down, went into his space, shook his hand, and said, "Kamala Harris." It's like he couldn't even bring himself to like, because if you rewatch, you can see he sees her coming. He's just like diverts and just does, because like,
What if he had surprised everyone and gone like lovey-dovey and be like, "Hey, congratulations on the nomination" or something like that? He just doesn't have it in him. He's like, he doesn't even have a dog, right? Like,
he did not look at her once during the debate. He did not say her name at all. He said Biden's name plenty of times, and clearly has no respect for her whatsoever, and it showed. Yeah, I mean, right from the get-go, you can tell that his ass was about to be slapped. It was a lot more brutal upon retrospect for sure. But yeah, that's it for me. I gotta go take a leak, so we can go ahead.
all
and
right,
wrap it
man,
up.
sounds good. Let's go ahead and end it there. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Until next week, I am Dieter McBusiness, reminding you that you don't get change in America by asking nicely. Thank you for tuning in.
Night, y'all.
See you next week.